Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Nick Madero with Madero Pest Control in Pueblo West, Colorado. You're listening to the world's #1 pest control training podcast, the Pest Geek Podcast, with the man himself, Mr. Frank Hernandez.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek podcast. I am Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek, here every day discussing all things pest. I want to remind everybody to join the Pest Geek Society. Join us. Join our Facebook group, which is Pest Geek Podcast Listeners Group. This is where you can have the most impact on the program by sharing, by commenting, by letting us know how we're doing and what we should be doing for you, because this is an industry podcast dedicated to the pest control industry for you. So go ahead and let us know. Also, join us on our Facebook page and on the web. All these podcasts are on our website, pestgeekpodcast.com, and you can get all the links to every podcast that we produce on our website. So join us there, and now we're going to get on to our main topic. Is having a perfect 5-star review causing you to lose business? You need to think about that for a moment, because we talk about having common sense in the industry. Anybody that you talk to say, well, you just need to have common sense. The problem is that common sense is counterintuitive for the most part. If we look at studies, and we look at studies on human behavior, typically, the studies reveal something contrary to what we think or believe. Because there's a difference in what people say, and there's a difference in what people actually do. And unlike no other time in history, we are able to measure customer response, customer activity, customer conversion, customer decision-making in marketing like no other time in history. I mean, you talk about radio, like Nielsen ratings, and how they were able to predict, marketing and how people behaved and responded to ads. But with online marketing, you're actually able to trace just about anything you want, including customer behavior while they're on your website, on the screen, on how they're scrolling and how they're looking at your pages and what they're clicking on and what they're trying to click on that they think they should be clicking on. We can, understanding customer behavior like no other time in history is vital to the decision making that you're making regarding your marketing. And the problem is that most people in the pest control industry, aren't marketers. They really don't understand marketing. They don't really understand human behavior. They think they do. I have 30 plus years in sales experience in leading and being around customers and listening to customers in all aspects of just about every type of industry. I've been in the service industry. I've been in the product industry. I've been in the retail industry. I've been in the wholesale industry. I've been in the manufacturing industry. I've done inbound sales, outbound sales. I've done wholesale. I've done over the phone. I even to the point where I sold nothing and I just negotiated subcontractor agreements, which was, in itself phenomenal. So even the things that I think I know, sometimes I'm just typically wrong at. And what we need to do is we need to start looking at what the real evidence is. We need to have data-driven marketing. You need to get into data-driven marketing if you're going to compete in the next 10 years, because the landscape of marketing is changing drastically, to the point where print media is really going to become obsolete. And everything is done online, and the more competitive you get online, the more you have to know. And I remember where 10 years ago, when I started in this business, actually it's 12 years ago now, I started in this business, in this industry, and it's going to be 9 years since I've been self-employed in this industry. I remember that all of my business was referral business. 100%. We pushed referrals like, an old school song. And I remember after 2009, when the market changed, when the market collapsed, when things started to change online also, those referrals started to dry up. And we were getting referrals primarily because we primarily were 95% lawn and ornamental. Today, we are 50%. After 4 years of a company conversion and a brand conversion, we are now 50% lawn and ornamental, 50% GHP. And I remember making that decision, say we got to go completely online 4 years ago and depend completely online, because if we don't play in this arena, understand that you're listening to me and you're probably somewhere where you probably know everyone in your community. Okay, understand that I am in a top 6 market. I'm in one of the top 10 markets in the country, meaning I'm in one of the most competitive markets in the country. You throw in there probably New York, LA, certain cities, but I'm the 6th largest market in the country when it comes per capita people. That means that I have more competition online than the average bear listening to me on this podcast. We have to be super aggressive. If you wonder why sometimes I'm not able to produce a podcast for 2 to 3 weeks, I'm working on projects. I have a long-term strategic sales mentality because I come from strategic sales. I'm not looking for the short-term sale all the time. That is produced by my online. Most of my strategic sales is done through networking. And those sales take 2 to 3 years to consummate. And right now we're getting that back that we invested in our relationships. We're getting that back now. And those are our direct sales from strategic sales. Okay. But I get to the point where we started getting these contracts in the last couple of weeks, where we just added probably $50,000 a year to our annual revenue with just 2 or 3 contracts. Okay. And that's where we are. Now we have to hustle to make that happen and get the strategy, and we're restructuring routes, and we have to restructure a lot of things when these things happen, and we got to move quickly. But to get back to my topic is, why are we having this issue with 5-star reviews and the importance with reviews? And that is, you've noticed that if you're in a larger market, if you're probably listening to me in a top 25 or a top 100 market, you've noticed that your referrals are dying down because people have less and less time, and people are they're no longer asking their neighbors. They're no longer asking their friends for direct reviews. The conversation is taking place online in groups. I have one client that is a blogger, and she does yoga, and she does organic stuff, and she's got a blog, and she's got a Facebook page, and we get mentioned in there. Well, she's got a huge amount of influence, and nobody's asking her personally. They're coming from these sources, these online reviews, and online reviews take it's multifaceted. The conversations going on in private groups and people's own face page on their Instagram. No longer are you going to be able to say, give me 3 people, because people are too busy, especially in a top. The bigger the market gets, the busier people are. I mean, we're talking about the average person in Miami spends probably 2 hours a day commuting to work. The average person. to the point that you can't go anywhere on a Saturday or Sunday in Miami anywhere without hitting traffic. And so as people get busier and as the system facilitates reviews that people can talk about things offline without, on their own time, without because remember that pest control is a discrete service. Most people don't want to admit they've got a problem. So my calling card, what I tell my customers is, look, my business card is your lawn. If your lawn looks bad because the landscaper messed up, that right there is a bad referral, because people are walking by your lawn. And what I want people to do is walk by your lawn and say, dang, that's what I want. And so what I get people is, in communities, people are knocking at their door and says, who does your lawn care? Because your lawn looks phenomenal. See, that's what I want. And if the customer isn't going to provide or the landscaper isn't providing a top level service for that lawn care, what we do is irrelevant. And so we make sure that we're very careful who we take on as a client, because that's our calling card. That's our referral right there. That lawn by itself is a referral. And it doesn't need to talk, and nobody needs to bother people. And what we're finding out as we dig more into these studies of online reviews, what we find is that what people believe to be true is actually not true. A Spiegel Research Center study. And by the way, you can download this study. It's on we have a link to it on our website on the blog post for this podcast. So you got to go to pestgeekpodcast.com and go to this having perfect 5-star review causing you to lose your business link, and it's there. You can download the study. Okay. But what the Spiegel Research Center study reveals, how influence in buying behavior, but at what point it influences and how much does it influence? Well, let's take a look at it. Now, understand that this is for people selling products, okay? And what you got to learn about studies is you got to learn to principalize the concept and take out what you're looking for is these nuggets of information that give you something applicable that you can use. And what I look for books and I consume a ton of is I'm looking for nuggets. I'm not looking for this in a box. Can somebody just tell me how to do this in a box? Guess what? It doesn't exist. You need to get over that. Because what happens with online marketing is the people that actually know how to do it aren't really going to share it with you. Because it takes thousands and thousands of hours of research and development for them to develop their online strategy, for agencies to test for their clients. And nobody is going to give you a class for $39 or $100 and teach you how to do everything for SEO. You can forget about that. The majority of stuff in the mainstream is regurgitated material. Everybody is saying the same thing. And you have to do a lot of studying and research and development and testing to get it right, which is what I have to do most of the time. Is I test things to see if they're working, and whatever works I keep doing, whatever doesn't I scrap it. But when it comes to online marketing, the reason that nobody's going to tell you is the moment they tell you and everybody starts duplicating it, Google and all the other search engines and all the other people will create algorithms to overcome that. And that's what's really happening in SEO. And there's very, very few people that actually know SEO. If you go to Black Hat World, which I just published it on our page, and you look at a class for a 2-day class on one topic, is about $3,000. For the real pros, they're going to fly to Vegas. They're going to spend the $3,000 and figure out what everybody knows. But forget about getting it for $39 online. Forget for a class that you're going to get a 6 course for $200. It's just total BS. You have to go out and do the research. You have to go and do the implementation, and and if you're in a small market and you're getting by with your own SEO, it's different than if you're in a larger market. And why people are trying things in larger markets and it's just not working, because you have to outdo your competition. There's just too much competition online. So what they're finding out is that the purchase likelihood for a product or service with a 5-star review, okay, is 270% greater than the purchase likelihood of a product with no review. So conversions, reviews have a huge impact. A few reviews on a product or service, and then we're talking about an individual product and an individual website. You need to learn, again, principalize this some way. Now, on a product review, having more reviews isn't necessarily better after a point. Marginal benefits of additional reviews begin diminishing rapidly after first 5 reviews. This is on a product. Okay, now reviews tend to have greater impact on purchases for higher priced items than for cheaper ones. So the more they have to spend, the more they're going to depend upon reviews, and they tend to have a bigger impact on higher priced services. This should be able to help you if you're selling a premium product or service, understanding this. Now, the conversion rate on a lower end product, it only increased at 190%. But on a higher end product, it increased at as much as 380%, the conversion rate. And you need to understand conversion rates. Conversion rates are different measured online than you are in person. And because we don't tend to think with an online strategy, we're thinking of an old traditional knock on the door sales strategy, or I got a phone call, or if I put out 1,000 postcards and I get 10 calls, I break even. You need to start changing your mentality to an online strategy. Are 5 stars too good to be true? Yes. According to every study that's out there, 5-star reviews in the mind of the customer, there's something that goes on in their spider senses in the back of their head that this is too good to be true. The product reviews will peak between 4.0 and a 4.7 range, then begin to decrease as it approaches 5.0. We're going to find out why. Here's also a thing, a verified buyer. So if you get a bad review from an employee that doesn't have their picture and doesn't have anything, and you're getting, people are getting their arms, because they fired an employee and he wrote a bad review on them to get even. Or you have one customer that it was just that customer that nobody is in the world is ever going to satisfy because everybody is evil in the world and they're just, they're not right. And they wrote a negative review on you, but they didn't put their picture up. They don't have a verified account. They went in and wrote it maliciously. It's a malicious, and most of the time we've gotten Google to remove the comment, but they left a 1 star. And what that does is it raises our credibility. What we find out is that buyers that are satisfied are more likely to give 4-star reviews to 5-star reviews, while anonymous buyers significantly give 1 and 2-star reviews. And if you are not willing to put yourself out there, then you're not really credible. And that's what, in the mind of the customer, that's what happens. Even though you're saying, man, I got a 1-star review from a competitor that wrote a bad review and wrote it, and we challenged it and they took it off. We still got the 1 star, but people are like, yeah, you can tell it's bogus because the way they wrote it, you can tell it's bogus because you read everything else that people write about us and they're so freaking descriptive about what they write about us that when you get to that one, you say that's out of place. That makes no sense with everything else I'm reading from these other people, which are genuine. You can tell by reading something whether it's genuine or not and whether it sounds like a marketer wrote it. And I can always tell when people join groups and they are marketers for large companies, the way they write just gives them away that they're a marketer. They don't know how to interact in the social media world and just be genuine. They need to use words that most people don't use and the way they write everything. And you can tell that they're marketers, that their job is to influence that group or be in that group. And you can just tell and everybody figures it out. So based on Spiegel's research, an extensive research of online review influence decisions, they recommend that you do the following 6 things. Okay. And what I do is I look for market research. Like I go to Nielsen and I buy Nielsen studies, and I bought Nielsen study when I was going to do a conversion for the company to understand where the market was at in general to make that decision. So, you got to spend the money to do really good, get really good info. I mean, just getting free stuff all the time, it just shows that you're not willing to be a real serious competitor, that you're just looking to get by. And a lot of people are just looking to get by. All right. So based on it, these are some things you should do. Number one is display review ratings on your product website. So if you've got a website, display the reviews and ratings there. We've done that front and center. We have a slider that shows our reviews and where the reviews came from, whether it came from Google or it came from Yelp, and people can click on them and go directly to the reviews and check them out. Businesses that choose not to show their ratings or reviews risk losing customers to a website that does. Okay, number two, embrace negative reviews. Nobody's perfect. While it seems to be counterintuitive, negative reviews can have a positive impact because they establish credibility and authenticity. You see, it's counterintuitive to get a bad review and you got 200, you get your first one and you freak out. You shouldn't freak out. You should deal with it. Most of the time that you're getting that bad review is either you didn't deal with that problem effectively to the person's satisfaction, you ignored it, or the person just is no way, or there's just simply no way to really satisfy that person. Or sometimes they're just bogus. But it shows, hey, you're a real company, you have real issues, you got real problems. And when everything seems too perfect, it puts people on edge. Number three is prioritize generating reviews. With low volume reviews, business should focus on their efforts on making sure all products have at least a handful of reviews. So if you've got multiple products, consider if you've got a lawn care service, considering adding reviews that only rely on, hey, they did our lawn and we've been very satisfied. And using targeted reviews instead of, we don't sell 150 items on our website. We maybe have 3 to 5 to 7 to 9 income streams on our site. The things that we do, like we have ant control, and we have lawn care, and we have termite service, and you have all these incomes. You have animal removal. You might have a separate bed bug service. You might have a separate on your page where you have your flea and tick. Put reviews in there about flea and tick. If you've got a couple hundred reviews, hand select them and put a link to it so people can actually link to them and see them on Google. And that also, by the way, linking back to your Google page, your Google site or other sites will boost that one page in the rankings, in case you didn't know that. So yes, linking back to your social media from your website actually does help. Additional priority, let's see here. Number 4. Retailers can help consumers overcome the risk of buying expensive or unfamiliar items by sharing additional reviews for these products. So emphasizing that your higher price services, look, we sell very high price services, and this is why we depend on them. Number 5, overcome the selection bias to improve the value of reviews. A large pool of reviews is not always more representative, particularly if it includes a large number of anonymous reviews. Okay. And number 6, identify reviews from verified buyers. Identifying purchases with verified buyer badges enhances credibility of the review and improves the odds of purchase by at least 15%. So in other words, you want that this, if you got a website and you have client logins and all this, what you want to do is, hey, this is a verified buyer on our site. And you got to figure out a way to make this work, make it happen. Nobody's going to give you the ins and outs of everything. You got to go and figure out how to make that happen. And if that's something you think you could use, look at what our buyers, our customers are selling, and they're verified on your site. Then that might be another way for you to do reviews on your own site versus doing them off-site, from somebody else. So I hope, by the way, remember there's a link to this on our website to the entire download. You can get the entire download of the study by linking to it. So, folks, hey, until next time, you have a pestacular day.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.